What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so before I get into this video, I want to give a big shout out to the man, the myth, the legend, the brother Robert Mason coming through once again with the $10 donation via the PayPal. Much respect to him for showing love to the channel once again. And by the way, I don't understand why I have so many people who keep trolling me saying that I'm begging for donations. Have you guys ever heard me on here saying, please send me money? I was doing so bad, please send me money. People have donated to the channel because it's an option that actually was brought up and suggested by some of my subscribers. They said, we like your content, man, we want to support the channel. I was hesitant to do it at first, but I finally relented and added a Cash App and PayPal option. And so some people have donated to my channel, and I shout them out at the beginning of my video. What's wrong with these people? But anyway, it's just stupid to me. It's just dumb. Anyway, I want to talk about the Golden State Warriors in this video. Now, I'm not saying this series is over with because the next two games are in Golden State. And Golden State does play historically much better at home. But in order for them to win this series, they're going to have to win on the road. And they have to do it next series, and then the next series, and then if they make it that far to the finals, I don't see that happening. So what I'm saying is I think their championship run is going to come to an end. And the signs have been there all season that there were trouble with this team. And at the end of the day, these are the things that I see that are wrong right now. Now, I did a video saying that, from my recollection at least, the oldest first option player to lead a team to a championship was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 38 years old, 1985, right? But he's an anomaly because even though he was leading the team in scoring, it was still more of a by committee scoring. Like, you had him maybe averaging 22, 23, Magic averaging 19, maybe Worthy averaging 19, Byron Scott averaging 17 or 16. It was not one guy really dominating the basketball, or dominating the offense, I should say, at least. That honor, that record is held by Michael Jordan. He was 35 years old when he led the Chicago Bulls to a championship. Even in LeBron James' last championship, when he was 35, the number one option was Anthony Davis. And as you can see right now, the Lakers are better, phenomenally better, when they're led by Anthony Mason or they're scoring by committee. When LeBron James is dominating the offense, that's when the team gets into problems. That's because he's an older player. So what I'm getting at is that the years of them utilizing Steph and having Steph be the focal player of the offense, it led to a long period of dominance since 2015-16 for them, even though Kevin Durant also won 2 championships being a featured guy. But I think Steph Curry being the number one option for this team is no longer feasible for them to win a championship. I think there needs to be a youth movement for this team, and I think they need to start featuring, even though I understand he's having a poor series so far, but ultimately they need to start featuring the younger guys. By that I mean the younger players like Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins, Kuminga, and whoever younger player that's good that can get in the near future. Because I think that the core of Draymond Green, Draymond Green, Steph, and Clay, they run their course. They run their course. They've been a great team for a very long period of time. But I think that's it. And another thing that needs to be mentioned is that over the last couple of years, it's been apparent that Steph is breaking down. His level of play, offensively, is still phenomenal. That's not the question. The question is his availability. Last few years he's been missing significant time of the season due to injury. Of course, when he's not available, that's going to hurt the team. We see that in the plus minuses already in these individual games with the Sacramento Kings, and during the season, without Steph, they struggled. Even when they had Kevin Durant. Remember, when Steph wasn't there, they were a pretty good team, but when Steph was there with KD, they were like unbeatable, damn near. So Steph not being available due to age is a problem. Klay Thompson, you have to give him his due for being able to battle back from those terrible injuries and be playing at the level he's playing. But having given him all of that praise, it's apparent that he's not the player that he was before. Klay, I'm not saying he was a defensive player of the year candidate, but Klay before the injury was a two-way player. A guy that could guard the other team's best perimeter player and make it difficult for him. But on the other end, be a guy that doesn't need the basketball in his hands to score the basketball. And he usually shot at a 45, 46, 47% rate. Now, because of the fact that he's not nearly as mobile as he once was, not saying he was a great athlete to begin with, but now because he's not nearly as mobile as he once was before, he settles for threes. And he shoots more of them than before. He shoots them at a great clip. But now his efficiency is down to 41, 42%, as opposed to 46, 47% earlier in his career. And defensively, even though I thought Klay played better this year, he's not the guy that he once was. And as a consequence of that, and I was discussing this with a subscriber of mine, communicating with a subscriber of mine, and I agree with his points. I don't think Klay is a max player anymore at this point. I think Warriors fans may have to start realizing that there might have to be a rebuilding process with the Warriors. It happens to every championship team. This team has had a phenomenal run. Other teams that have had significantly longer runs or longer runs, maybe the Spurs, but you got to remember, the Spurs were always able to draft smart, implement younger players into their system, and other players were able to make adjustments. Earlier on, they were the Twin Towers with David Robinson and Tim Duncan. Later on, when David Robinson retired, they were able to get, of course, for the Spurs, Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker. And then as Tim Duncan began to age a little bit, still near his prime, you started seeing with Ginobili being featured more, Tony Parker especially. For the sacrifice of the team, Manu Ginobili went on the bench. And then later on in Tim Duncan's career, he was a constant, but then, of course, he started falling off, right? So then you started seeing more of a youth movement with, as the other guys aged, you saw the arrival and the emergence of Kawhi Leonard, who's now a superstar, Danny Green, I can't think of everybody on that team now, but the guy that plays with from Australia. I think he's still with Brooklyn, I can't think of his name. I can't think of his name right now. But anyway, you start seeing a youth movement, and that extended the dynasty. So I think Warriors fans are going to have to be realistic and look to Poole, Wiggins, and maybe some other guys down the stretch to extend this dynasty. And what I'm saying is, Clay and Steph can still be part of this thing. They're still relatively, well, they're not in their primes, but they're not done. But ultimately, they may have to make adjustments. They may have to, hey, look, man, maybe Clay may have to eventually consider coming off the bench. Not right now, but maybe coming off the bench. Maybe he'll be more valuable leading the second unit, being their scorer. Maybe it's getting to a point where Steph may have to, instead of being this guy averaging 30-some points a game, take a lesser role. Maybe averaging more around 25 rather than 30 or 29 or 30. Maybe Poole needs to be featured more. Wiggins needs to be featured more. Maybe go after another 3-and-D guy. But there needs to be some changes because I can see it, man. The wear and tear on this team is taking a toll. These long playoff runs have taken a toll. It happens to all these teams. Another thing, you can clearly see the age affecting the Warriors. And I'll tell you why. This is an astute observation from someone who brought this up, and it is true. The Kings are not a great defensive team, but they appear to be a great defensive team because of the relative slowness and lack of athleticism, and might I say lack of size, by the Warriors. And another thing that has to be mentioned is that 10 years ago when the Warriors burst upon the scene as a bunch of young rambunctious rascals, right? We hadn't seen anybody play basketball like that. We hadn't seen a team feature those types of shooters, the Splash Brothers. I mean, the NBA was actually embracing that maybe the Spurs may win a couple more championships, but the Warriors came out, shocking everybody, except for themselves, and displaying a new type of basketball that we hadn't seen. The league didn't have anybody that could compare it to them in the next couple of years. But what's happened over the last couple of years is that the NBA has caught up with them. The rest of the league is caught up with the Golden State Warriors when it comes to shooting. Let's look at some stats here. Let's look at 3-point shooting. Let's see if I can pull that up. All right, here we go. This postseason, go to regular season. Here we go. All right, let's look at field goal percentage. Denver, number 1. Sacramento, number 2. Timberwolves, number 3. Bulls, number 4. Cavaliers, number 5. Sixers, number 6. Brooklyn, number 7. Wizards, number 8. Hawks, number 9. Lakers, number 10. Pelicans, number 11. Warriors, number 12. Now let's just go back to their first championship year and see where they ranked. They were number 1. They were number 1. Let's see where they ranked in 3-point shooting back then. They were number 1. They were number 1. It wasn't even close. Now let's see where they ranked this year in 3-point shooting. Now they're still good. They're number 2, but their percentage is down. So the shooting is there, but the overall efficiency isn't what it once was. There's a lot more ISO, less ball movement, less teamwork. I'm trying to find a stat that I really want to look at. Rebounding. The Warriors were fourth in rebounding in that 73-9 year. Fourth. This year, they're ninth. Ninth. So they're down across the board. And where they're really down is defense, but I can't find any defensive stats to look at. That's what I really want to look at. I don't see any defensive stats to look at. But at the end of the day, they're just not the same team, man. I'll tell you one stat I could look at maybe to get a good handle of. It's an indicator of defense. Let's look at steals. The year they won 73 games. They were ninth in steals that year. This year, they're 15th. So, the point I'm trying to make here, and I think they're probably way down in defensive statistics, way down. So the point I'm trying to make is, I think it's time for the organization and Warrior fans to come to the reality that this team may be at the end of their championship run with the current group. And last but not least, Draymond Green has to go. He has to go. I understand he's been an important part of this team, but he's becoming too much of a distraction, and his antics are getting in the way now. Now his antics are amplified because they're not winning in the same way. See, it's one thing when you have a player like a Draymond Green or Dennis Rodman or whatever, or Bill Laimbeer, and you're winning. But when you're not winning and they're displaying these antics, it becomes amplified, it becomes a distraction. So anyway, those are just my takes, man. Tell me what you guys think.